You should also know, too, that the reaction requires ATP and NADPH from the light reactions. All right, so at this point, we are going to be able to remove one 3-carbon sugar. So we've fixed a net total of 3 carbons from 3 carbon dioxides. So then we can kind of kick that out of the cycle. And then from there, we'll go through and use some more ATP to regenerate our starting point. Yes.
Where's the cycle located in the cell?
Yes. So it is located in the stroma, which is the sort of watery solution that is surrounding the thylakoid membrane.
And this is actually a cycle that takes effect after a similar process to the electron transport chain. Rather than that kind of being the end of the animal cell, this is actually the beginning of at least the light part of the plant cell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly right. And so not only is the equation for photosynthesis sort of flipped relative to respiration, kind of the direction of the processes are somewhat flipped as well.
And I've also noticed that like the pump is going out of the inner part rather than into the inner part from the outer part. At least that's what I thought I saw, and that's true as well.
That's right, yeah.
Interesting.
All right, so with our 3 carbon dioxides, we made one 3-carbon sugar. And so if we went through and did all this again, we would wind up with 2 3-carbon sugars, which we could then put together to make 1 glucose. Yes?
So, confusion calculation. First of all, where does RUB come from?
Yeah, so it's somewhat of a chicken and egg question. So this is it's a cycle, right? And so the plant can produce, it has RUBP around. And so actually in the morning when the light first, that doesn't come on, the sun comes up, the first sort of, little while that the cycle is running, once there's light, is actually dedicated to building up a bunch of RUBP.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then how do you go from 6 3-carbon molecules to 1 3-carbon molecules with addition of energy and an electron? I just don't understand how that reduces the
Right. So basically, we have to use most of the carbons here to regenerate the RUBP.
Okay.
And so here we have a total of 6 times 3, so 18 carbons.
Right.
And then we pull out 3 of those to put into our sugar pool. And so then that leaves us with 15, which is what we started with. Yeah. Any other questions about Calvin's cycle? Yeah.
So all the ATP and NADPH that are being converted, those are all from the light reaction?
Yes. Mm-hmm. All right. Any other questions about the Calvin cycle? All right, so now we will talk about the second thing that Rubisco does. And so we just talked about the carboxylase activity of Rubisco. So that's where Rubisco is carboxylating, so it's adding the carbon dioxide to the RUBP. So that's what it's supposed to do. That's how the Calvin cycle runs normally. But Rubisco has a problem, and that problem is this oxygenase activity. So the way the enzyme is structured, it can actually bind O2 instead of CO2 and then try to attach that to our RUBP. And so the problem with that is then instead of getting our nice 6-carbon molecules, you're going to wind up with a 3-carbon sugar like you want, but then you have this weird 2-carbon molecule. And so then the plant actually has to go through and spend some additional energy to recover that carbon. And that process is called photorespiration.